Okay, well, why don't we get into it, Cory? Welcome everybody today. I'm super excited to have you. I am Marilyn Wilson Lund. I'm the president of RE Technology, and I've worked with our folks at Boomtown for quite some time. They do some amazing work, and if any of you are already customers, you know they do a great job. If you're not, you're going to learn why you probably should be a customer. So it's great. And I was just reflecting. I don't know if I was just having one of those moments, but one of the things I really love about our industry, just because, is we really do like to help each other. I don't know a person in real estate that does a good job, that has exciting ways to do things, that doesn't want to make everyone learn how to do that. So it's really neat. And Cory's no exception. So we're going to talk today about how to build a highly effective lead process. And we're going to talk not only about buyer leads, but importantly about seller leads, because as we know, that's really the key right now. So I want to introduce Cory Kammerdiener. Did I say that name right, Cory? I'm sorry if I slaughtered it.
Actually, you said it okay.
All right, good. So he's the broker owner, has done does some amazing work, has a really strong customer-centric focus, and why his business is so strong. So I'm going to just kind of jump in. So Cory, tell us a little bit, where are you from? How did you become, how did you get into this crazy business? And, what do you think about being in real estate?
Well, I was raised in Charlestown, West Virginia, Jefferson County, and not a lot of opportunities there. So I raised my hand and said, I do, and I joined the military. And I went into the service as an electronic technician on nuclear powered submarines. And after I did my 8.5 years active duty, I ended up in Houston, Texas, took a job. But after 9/11, a lot of people were kind of shaken up in the industry. So I actually got laid off from a good paying job. And I found myself working at Best Buy, the original Geek Squad, putting computers together, and selling furnitures at night with Bassett Furniture. I was selling products on eBay and also a Navy reservist, 4 jobs, and still I wasn't able to provide. So after about a year of that, and trying to go back into the military, I got an offer to work for a home builder, a company called Royce Homes, which was the largest family-owned builder, probably in the state of Texas. Back then, easily, they were cranking out probably 2,000 homes a year, bigger than Lennar, D.R. Horton, and all these big names you guys hear now, because, they were localized to the Houston area. And I became what was called their internet consultant before that was an actual term. So they said, listen, we're going to give you $1,500 your first month. We're going to give you $1,000 your second month, and we're going to give you $500 your third month. If you don't get out there and sell our homes in the 23 neighborhoods that we were building, then you're going to fire yourself. So I said, I don't know anything about selling homes, but working one job is better than 4. So I beat the streets, and I just tracked people down and just said, hey, do you want to buy a home? Do you own a home? And that's how I got my start in real estate. And back in 2003, 2004, same thing that's happening right now. Prices were taking off like crazy, and a lot of people were getting priced out of the market. So I'd learned how to fix people's credit, and I learned a little bit about mortgage financing. So I always had a pipeline, 30, 40 people, right? And they would say, you know what, you help with my credit, you help me get the down payment programs. But honestly, the house that was $98,000 6 months ago is now selling for $134, right? Imagine if we had homes for $134 now. So they just were honest. They like, listen, I would like to buy a Royce home, but I can't afford it. So I found myself saying, you know what, let me research other builders, go to Express Homes or New Home or, K-Hovmanian Homes. Their homes are a little bit cheaper. And then I said, wait a minute, why am I sending my hard-earned work, right? My client pipeline, why am I feeding the competitors? So a light bulb clicked, and I said, wait a minute, maybe I should become one of those real estate agents, because honest to God truth, agents by the hundreds were dropping people off at my office and saying, here's someone, you help them to buy one of your home, and we'll show up and get a check at closing in 30 days from now, right? So I said, well, wait a minute, why am I doing all the work and you're getting 3 to 6% commission, and I'm making 1.5% commission from the builder, and now struggling to make sales because prices have gone up. So I jumped ship after closing $3 million in sales in my first 12 months, not even knowing how to sell houses. And I got my real estate license, and that was it. You know, once I got that license, I created newhomeprograms.com. 2004, I like to tell people we were the first .com real estate company before Redfin, Zillow, and all these other big names. But anyways, I started lead generating on the internet back in 2004, flipping that little counter at the bottom. And that's how I provided leads for myself. So, you know, in this business, I've always been lead gen. And even as a military recruiter, I also had to go out in the street and do lead gen. So, but I just combined my background with the military, technical, military recruiting, which is sales, got into real estate, and I just duplicated myself, you know, from the military into real estate. And then now we're sitting on a company with, you know, a database of 50,000 leads and prospecting.
So I'm sure that military background and the discipline, the personal
Oh,
discipline,
yeah.
helped a lot in real estate, didn't it?
Oh, most definitely. It's all I knew. I signed the papers at 17, shipped off at 18. So as a young adult, that's all I understood was discipline and technology and people skills.
Yeah. You're getting thanks for your service, by the way, in the chat. So appreciate that. People appreciate that. How big is your team now? And, you know, like how many offices do you have? Just give us a scope of, you know, when did you start and how big are you now?
Okay. So again, we started in 2004. Right. And I didn't do the franchise model, so I had to stumble and learn how to be a broker, right? Mm-hmm. But I went the route of the traditional agency, meaning that in the beginning, it was all about agent count. Get the agents, get the agents. If you get the agents, you'll get the size, the transactions, the volume. But I learned after probably a decade that the more you train people to be successful, the higher the odds that they're going to leave you, right? To go to another brokerage or start their own. And after producing probably 10 brokers within my brand, and they all started their own companies, in 2019, I changed my business model radically because I didn't want agents to be my customer, right? I wanted the customers to be my customers, which are buyers and sellers. So what I did is I went to a W-2 model, right? So I found agents that wanted to service clients, giving them a 5-star client experience, but at the same time, not being a business that's going to stress you out and then cause you to kind of cheat, right? Because I come from a home building industry where they cheat a lot to make sales. So I went from over 300 agents over a decade to probably right now, maybe we have about 7 licensed agents, but we have also a full-blown admin you know, staff. So I changed my model. I had 4 offices in Texas. I had office in Tampa, Orlando. I was going down to Parkland, but I just said, that's too much overhead. I can't keep recruiting hundreds of agents and getting more offices because things are going to shift. And I knew being a .com that everything was going to go virtual, you know, in the future. So I got rid of all the offices and then we just built one main center right off of I-45 here in Houston. And this is where we have our call center, our mortgage company, our insurance company. And, you know, we're technically virtual. Even before COVID, we were already, you know, out virtually showing. So anything that doesn't allow me to generate leads or sell houses or properties, then we just gutted that. And buildings do not help you sell houses. So that's where we're at today, a small team working with a huge database. So then we don't have to be stressed out of when are we going to get business, you know?
Yeah. So the people that are in your on your admin team, do you have a lot of people that are helping to, you know, to qualify leads or to keep in touch or do marketing outreach for your agents or things like that?
Yeah. So, you know, any type of good team is going to have a transaction coordinator, right? Because following up on a transaction is not income revenue producing, right? So we have a TC, a transaction coordinator. We do have in-house ISAs, but we don't call it that. We call it client support. But more importantly, we leverage success assurance, which is also called concierge, which Boomtown, which is our CRM. This is a nationwide call center of ISAs trained by Boomtown. They know the LP Mama script, but we leverage them. We outsource it for them to actually handle the bulk of the leads coming in, the brand new leads. So we do have that in place. And then marketing. Yeah, we have a marketing department.
We'll talk more about that in a minute because there's some really interesting components to that. So let's just talk about I mean, none of us are, none of this is new, what's on the screen here, right? I mean, there's probably never been in the history of the world, frankly, a time in which more things have changed by completely out of all of our control, right?
That is true.
And we all remember when COVID, I'll never forget it, March 20th, March 15th, whenever it started. And, we would get notifications from our agent clients saying, my state just told me to stop all my listings because we're not deemed essential. I mean, it was just like the world was literally ending at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever imagined at that moment what we'd be dealing with today. I don't think, right? With just no inventory and the supply chain problems. It's probably good you're not in the home building business these days, Cory, with all the supply chain problems they're dealing with. And now we're seeing inflation. I live in California, and it cost me $150 to fill my gas tank because the gas was $7.29. I mean, insane,
Wow.
right? I'm in Florida right now. It's like only $4 here, and they're all saying it's expensive. I'm like, you have no idea. But in any case, the market's good, bad, crazy, hot, cold, all at the same time, right? Like, what are you doing to adapt to this? People call it the new normal, whatever we want to call it. The world is different than it was 2 years ago. And I don't think it's ever going back in any, completely. So how did your business change? How did you adapt to it? What have you done differently?
Okay, so one of the changes we're doing right now, and you mentioned this, God bless the builders, good luck with that. But I believe the builders are the ones that's going to make the money, right? So we're actually starting to build homes. So for the last 30 days, I've been buying lots like crazy in rural areas, low taxes, rural areas outside of the city. Because why? Even before COVID, we already knew that builders have not been building at the level they were a decade prior. So when I worked for Royce Homes, I just mentioned how we could easily build 2,000 homes in a year. That's a lot of homes for a mom and pop shop, right? But that decade ago that I was in the business, if you go back and look at history, 27 million homes across America were built compared to this decade we're in now, only 5 million, right?
Wow.
So COVID is not the reason why we're in this jam. It's builders production dropped dramatically, but the millennials and then the generation, I believe it's the generation Z or Y or whatever, right? The generation after the millennials are even bigger than the millennials. So we're talking about the two biggest generations in human history in America, right? That typically they're going to start looking for a home at age 33 to 34 because the stats tell us that's the average age of a first-time home buyer, and they typically make 30% of all homes. So we got two humongous groups of people looking to buy, and builders for the last decade have building this amount of homes. So the supply and demand, it was already jacked up before COVID. COVID was an accelerator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lumber being stalled, lumber mills shutting down. So I believe that if you're a home builder and there's going to be a shortage of homes probably for the next decade, buy land now because prices of homes per square foot are going up like crazy. I never in a million years thought I could go buy a piece of land, a little lot, right? In the middle of nowhere. But other homes that are 20 to 30 years older that are now selling are selling for $166 a square foot. What house in 1980, that's a little rancher, 1,200 square foot, selling for 166? Now, in California, that's nothing to you guys. But here, 10 years ago, I bought a home at $47 a square foot.
Wow.
47 versus 166, that's huge. So how do we pivot? Number one, we changed our business model because I was in the business when the housing crash happened. 1 minute there's agents, the next minute they're no longer realtors at Home Depot, right? So I could not build a brokerage with hundreds of agents knowing that when that next cycle comes, if the agents aren't there, then you have no company. So that's the first thing I did. I pivot. I could not rely on that model anymore. I can't rely on real estate agents to keep my doors open, right? And that's why a lot of those real estate companies and even home builders went bye-bye the last time the housing crashed, right?
Right.
So that's the first thing. Number two, we know that there's two humongous generations out there and all of them are on the internet. So the goal or the name of the game suck up prospects via the internet, because I cannot go out on the street and touch 1,000 people personally. But through digital marketing, Facebook ads, I could reach 100,000 people like right now. It's just a matter of how much money you want to spend on digital marketing, right?
Exactly. Yep.
But the goal is get them first before other people get them. And then you nurture, nurture, nurture. And that's why you have to have a strong CRM, that not only are you making the phone calls, but they're getting those listings, because right now, every eyeball is on somebody's website looking at listings. And right now they're watching the prices go up, right? And that's what you got to do, is you just got to get them via the internet, get them on their smartphone, get them on their mobile app, and then just start nurturing the crap out of them, and let them know that even in a turbulent time like now, right, you still got somebody that can help you out. So the real estate agent now is even more valuable, because the consumer doesn't even know what side is up or what side is down in this crazy market.
No, it's so true. It's crazy. Okay, let's go to the next slide, because I wanted to talk a little bit about this white glove service. So Boomtown's got a thing called white glove service. And I know you've been involved with it for quite some time. Tell us about how you use this system and how it helps you.
So the white glove service, if you're referring to concierge,
Yep.
which I believe you are, it is an extension of what we have here. And the reason I use it was probably 3 years ago, I tried to build out my own ISA, or client support department, and I had 4 ISAs. As of today, one of them is actually my office manager. A second one is running my credit repair company. The third one is my showing agent, and then one of them got out of the business. So I found myself always recruiting for that position. But if they're a real go-getter, they're not going to stay in that position. Or if they're not as good, I'm not going to say a good salesperson, but if they're not the type of personality who can chain themselves to a desk and make those calls, they're not going to last. So when Boomtown came out with their success assurance team, also called concierge, I love the idea that, number one, they have an army of people working in a call center that particularly know the CRM that I'm using, right? So I don't have to train a virtual assistant and say, when you call someone in my Boomtown database, make sure you do this, 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 and this, right? Because it's not just the phone calls. I need to see notes and text messages, and I want you to document stuff to make sure I'm getting my money's worth, right?
Yep.
So they are owned by Boomtown. Boomtown bought a company, I believe it's called Real Contact. They bought it, relabeled it, but they trained them on the CRM. And the thing is I used to be afraid to like fire up my budget to get leads coming in, because I knew my guys couldn't handle it. Now with their success assurance, I can bring in 1,200 leads every 30 days and don't even have to worry about someone calling them within 5 minutes, because the last I heard, they had 150 people working in their call center, right? That's a lot of people, to be working your database. But the other thing is, we get leads from all over the country. I'm getting leads from California. They're 2 hours behind us. We got leads coming in from New York. They're an hour ahead of us. But the success assurance team, they're spread out across America. So they're working multiple time zones. So if it's 8 o'clock my time out here, of course, I'm not going to have my own ISA working at 8, but their client support, which is probably 6 o'clock in the evening, they're still working and actually working those leads that are coming in on California time. So what it did for us, it allowed us to expand our office hours, because technically we are .com.
Right. No, that makes so much sense. And you said something too that's really important, and it's probably one of the hardest things that any of us in sales have to deal with, and that is being compliant and consistent with the CRM. Even if you have your own ISA team or your own even individual agents that they're using it, to get them to use it consistently and appropriately and get the full value out of it is so hard. So you don't do that with this group, right? They do it for you.
Exactly. And you're right, because agents that are independent contractors, they want to use their personal cell phones to text message, right, and make phone calls.
Right.
And I'm speaking from experience. I'm a broker in 3 states. So I've been subpoenaed by the state of Texas, because we were connected to other people's transactions. And that's why we got called in. And the first thing they do is they subpoena all documentation to include communication logs. And because success assurance only works in Boomtown, I get to see all their text messages. I get to see all their phone call conversations. So for us, it makes it very easy that when we get subpoenaed, we can provide that documentation. And the name of the game is whoever has the most documentation is going to win. So that's why we've never gotten any disciplinary action, because we can always prove our side of the story with the Boomtown.
That's awesome. Now, one of the things that I hear often is, people are like, well, I got some leads. I didn't catch them fast enough. So they kind of just fell on the ground and died. And one of the things that, we talked about earlier is, there is no such thing as a dead lead. Some of them are, right? But tell me about how you use Boomtown to not only work on brand new leads, but on leads that may have been sitting around for a while there, or other people might consider old.
Okay, so the first thing is I go by the study that MIT put out a few years ago, and it says that if you cannot get that person in 5 minutes, then you're going to be 90% less chance that you're ever going to get them on the phone, right?
Right.
But also that survey said that if you consistently call someone 6 times, on the 6th time, you now have a 90% chance you're going to get them on the phone, right?
Right.
So speed to lead, very important, because you can't be naive to think that you're the only website that they visited and submitted their information.
Right.
Right. So if you don't call them back, somebody that's paying Zillow for their, leads, 5 of those agents are probably going to call back because they distribute the leads amongst a bunch of agents based on the number of properties. So you got to call them quick. You got to text message them quick. But even if you can't get them on the phone, you got to blow them up. So I like the idea when phone prospecting that you prospect to disqualify people, right? Because number one, it's a change in mentality. If I got to call 100 people, let me see if I can disqualify 75. So then I never have to waste my time calling those people back, right? And that's what Success Assurance does. I believe they have the same mentality because they are very quick to disqualify someone. So for example, if they have a real estate agent, they're automatically going to say disqualified, and they're going to move on, to the next one. But yeah, you got to hammer people until they give up and say no, or they opt out. Because at the end of the day, if I'm paying for leads, I want to somehow have a good feeling that I got my money back, right? And if I don't get a lead on the phone, or if I don't get a response, I feel like my money's kind of hanging in limbo.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. It's as important, if not more important, to know about the people that aren't worth your time than those that are, right? I talk to agents all the time. They're like, 99 of those 100 internet leads I get are not any good. Well, that's because you're not working with a program like this, right? You're just treating every online inquiry with equal value, and that's just not how it works.
And you can't. And here's why: out of 100 leads, right, the majority are not going to be the ones that say 1 to 3 months, right?
Right.
That's very few. Those are the people that they're behind the time, right? It's like they should have been preparing 3 to 6 months or 6 to 12 months, but they didn't. So now they're scrambling. But the bulk of the 100 leads, what you're going to see is 6 to 12 months, right? The second bulk is 3 to 6 months. So if that person registered, you're probably not going to get that person on the phone because they've already indicated that I don't even want to start the process for a minimum of 90 days. So that's the person you have to hammer 6 times to get them on the phone. But yeah, you're right. You can't treat every single lead exactly the same because their timing is not exactly the same.
So, this program, it sounds like it takes a lot of the burden. For you, like you said, you had 4 ISAs, you have none now, and you're probably getting better quality leads and more consistent than you did in the past. As a broker, having a program like this, what does it freed you up to focus or to think about or to do instead of just continually trying to feed the top of the funnel?
Number one, what it helped me to not have to do is beat the agents over the head and say, why haven't you called that lead? It's been sitting in your database now for a day, right? So and I actually think a lot of people quit my company because they're like, this guy's the lead Nazi, right? So that's what it freed me up for. I don't have to always be the negative guy. How come you're not calling your leads? I know that my leads are getting called through Success Assurance, but because they're also setting up callbacks, we use a Calendly system, right? Where when they speak to someone on the phone, they do have to acknowledge we do not have a license, right? So concierge, these people do not have real estate licenses. which is good because then they can say, I can't sell you anything because I don't even have a real estate license. But we are connected to the professionals that do have the license and have a wealth of information that probably you need, right? So let me get you scheduled with a 10-minute callback from someone on my team, which I like how they say that, because even though they're technically not in my company, they're telling the consumer that they're part of a team. And
Right.
what the consumer says is, I like your honesty. You're just fielding me to find out if I'm a good qualified buyer or not. I like that because I want to work with someone who understands quality, right? But they set the 10-minute call up, and then just magically those 10-minute calls pop up on our agent's calendar. So when they walk in the morning, they got their coffee, they're like, oh, I've got 5 people that want to speak to me. And I know they want to speak to me because they spoke to Success Assurance and said, we want to speak to someone. So I like that system better than having to always chase people down. I like to just start making phone calls off a schedule appointments. And that's what I believe it freed me up a lot of time. Not having to be the bad guy with the agents and tell them to explain to me why you're not doing your job.
And I would guess the agents love it too, because it makes their job easier. If they just show up, it's like, call these 5 people today. It's a lot easier than trying to get your own CRM and who is kind of warm and are they really going to buy now? Or, I mean, it's having your own CRM and having to work through that is a lot of work. This seems like it makes it a lot easier.
And here's how it makes an agent's life a million times easier right now. Our agents, for one client, 10 offers in a day, 10 different houses, right?
Right.
So when you have to work harder on the sales part, right? Then what happens is you don't have the phone time to be able to get into that database, right? So by having pre-scheduled appointments for prospects that we're looking, to bring on as clients, they don't have to spend as much time doing that, because really their time is trying to win offers. In a day, my team could probably crank out 60 offers a day. That's how busy we are. That doesn't mean we're getting 60, transactions, right? So it's like everything reversed. 2 years ago, we would win more than 90% of our offers. Right now, maybe 10%.
Right.
See? So it's a lot more work, but you're seeing lesser results. For every one house that's 250,000, so let's say 200 to 250 in our market, for every one house, 30 to 50 offers.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
Gage has an interesting question for you. They said, do you ever have agents that prefer to be the one to make that first impression or point of contact with the consumer?
So I would say I'm like that person, because I believe I can do better than someone who doesn't have a real estate license. So I would say yes, but here's the thing. When you are a showing agent or a lead agent, you spend a lot of time doing that side of real estate, right? So the way our business is structured is, if you're a lead agent, which is someone that sets the appointment, like the buyer's appointments or the seller appointments, right? And you sit down with a buyer, your appointment's like an hour. So you're not going to be able to get on the phone for at least an hour while you're trying to onboard someone. Same thing with a showing agent. You're taking one customer, showing them 10 houses every day, right? That's like in our city, that's like 4 hours out of the day. So if they're not doing that activity, then yes, they are in the database, but their main job, focusing on the people that have been nurtured for months. So they're calling today the people that registered 3 to 6 months ago, right? They're not calling the new leads, because why? Concierge is the one that's calling within 5 minutes.
They're still calling people. They're just calling them at a time when they're warmer. They're closer to.
Most definitely. And here's the thing about Boomtown. I don't know if I can legally say this or not. I don't know. I'm not the government. But in Boomtown, you can see the average price of what people are looking at. So if someone looked at 50 properties on our website, it tells you right there, average price range, 450,000. So as a real estate agent, let's be honest, are you going to call the guy that's 160,000, knowing that if you do talk to him, you got to keep apologizing of why you can't help them, right? So my agents are calling people that we know we can help. You start a business to help people, right? You don't start a business just to tell people you can't help. So what I love about Boomtown is our agents are going to fish in the area of the pond that we have the greatest success rate of conversion, right? So
and then do you work with Boomtown to kind of qualify or focus your partnership with them to say, here's the kind of properties that are the kind of region and things that we think we can do best, our best work?
So you can use them to do your lead gen. So for example, in my Texas market, I run my own Google ads because I've been doing it for almost 20 years. Actually, before Google, Yahoo was the thing, right?
Right.
So I have traction with Google ads. And I know my target audience in Houston, which is totally different than most cities in the nation. So I run my Google, but I do use their Facebook retargeting because now we're starting to gear more toward retargeting people in your database versus people that don't know you, like those visitors that happen to look around, but they never register. I rather go after the people that have been getting e-alerts for months. So they know our brand, they know our face. So in this market, I don't, but we also are on the East Coast, the Mid-Atlantic region. So when we launched that division, Boomtown had a stronger experience with lead gen because they also have a lot of Boomtown users out there. So we do use Boomtown digital strategy is what they call their marketing department to run our ads out there. So, and I'll be honest, their marketing division crushed my division because again, we've been doing this for 20 years. Hands down, they crushed me. So I pulled out of my Google ads. I'm like, you guys take the wheel. And I just turned everything over to them.
Jesus, take the wheel, just like
Jesus, take the wheel. Yeah. They are saving my butt out there because it's a whole different demographic. You know, it's not a Facebook market over there because the average seller is like 65 years old, right? And also the county that we're operating, just one of the counties, 60,000 people in an entire county. Heck, the neighborhood I live in here in Texas, we're already at 11,000 people just in my neighborhood. So the thing is Boomtown has a lot more data and experience of tweaking those ads and zoning in to get the right types of leads. And because the states are so close, West Virginia, Virginia, Maryland, PA, and DC, when you go and try to do your own ads, you might get consumers that you can't help because you're not licensed in those states. So that's what I work with them and say, listen, let's tighten up the leads. I don't want Delaware leads. I don't want New Jersey leads. I want the panhandle, West Virginia, Maryland, you know, and then, you know, Virginia. And that's what they did is their team just kept zoning in and zoning in. So now I'm not getting, you know, wasteful leads.
Well, you know, you said something too, which is so true. I mean, let's be honest, very few real estate people are digital marketing experts, right? They don't live and sleep and eat and breathe the stuff like Boomtown does, right? It's like, it's like, why would you just, you go to a restaurant to eat great food, right? You go to people that are experts at things. It just seems to make sense instead of trying to pretend that we're digital marketing experts when as soon as you think you got to figure it out, they change the algorithm, they add some new product, right? Every time you turn around, it's something new. Just let someone that knows how to do that, do it well. So then you can go do what you do well. It makes so much sense. Let's go to the next slide too, because I wanted to talk a little bit about this idea too. So with the Lead Concierge service, I love this expression, conversation ready leads, right? So forgetting about the cold leads, let them do the warm up. But I had a question about that too. Do you see, do you get seller leads as well as buyer leads? And is that also something that you can kind of, refine within the program?
Okay, so to get seller leads digitally, because we're talking digital stuff here, right? It's very hard. And it's because unlike a buyer who says, hey, I want to buy a home and I'm going to do it in the next 12 months versus a seller, yeah, I'm thinking about selling 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I'm not paying money to nurture somebody for 10 years, right? It's just too costly, right? So how we get seller leads pre-COVID was crank up the buyers leads because out of every 100 buyers, 5 of them own homes, right? Because a person who's thinking about selling, if they're smart, the first thing they're going to do is say, what can I buy out there if I decide to sell, right? Because they don't know the market. So typically they're buyers too, right? More than probably 95% of people who sell are going to be buyers in your local market. That other 5%, maybe they'll go to be a renter or they're going to leave your state. So the sellers, we don't get a bunch of them through the way we digital market, but recently over the last 6 months, we started getting lists of people that do own homes, typically values 300,000 or more. And believe it or not, we're going old school. We're doing mail outs, right? 1% rate of return on mail outs is better than nothing. So we are doing the postcards, but here's the thing. we partnered with a company called Revaluate, that if I stick 40,000 sellers in there, then what's going to happen is their algorithm is going to predict that 10% that's most likely going to sell. Because in real estate, we know that every neighborhood, every year, 10% turnover, which means 10% of the people in a neighborhood are going to sell. So if your neighborhood's 100 people, 10 people every year are going to list their house for sale. That 10% rule, I think, is going to go down because people are holding on to their house a lot longer. But still, I'm going to stick with the 10% rule. So using software to predict from a list which sellers potentially may be looking to sell, and then also sending them stuff in the mail, the postcards, I'll sell your house, and then also retargeting them with ads to be able to show that, hey, when you are ready, we're available. We just, over 6 months, try to put this piece of the puzzle together, because the only thing you can do in a market where there's low inventory is you got to make inventory. Either you convince people to sell their house or you have to start building houses. So we're trying to do both at the same time.
Oh, you're right. I mean, that's inventory short if everybody's holding onto their homes.
Oh, yeah.
So many people hold on to their homes because they don't believe there's another place for them to go.
Yeah.
So it's a vicious cycle, right?
Or think about this. I lived in a house for 13 years, right? And when COVID started happening, 2020, I could have sold that house. I could have made some good money. And I did move and buy another house. But being a real estate expert, if you can get another house without having to sell your house, right? Why in the world would you sell it? You see? So Americans are getting smart now, especially the second time buyer. They're saying, if I can get another house and I don't have to sell the other one and I can rent it, will Social Security be around for me in 20 years from now? Probably not, but your rental property will.
Right.
You see? So that's another reason we have a shortage of inventory, is because people are getting smart and saying, I don't have to sell that home to get another house. You see? So if you have the income to be able to pull off 2 mortgages, then you can do that. I did it. I didn't sell that house. I Airbnb'd it. It was the best decision I ever made. And now everybody on my block is doing exactly the same thing that I did, right? So that is another reason that there's a lack of inventory. People are like, I don't have to sell my house if I don't want to. I'll hold on to it, let it go up another 20% in the next 24 months and, sit on that.
But I like that people are buying instead of REITs and, big investors, big corporate people buying up neighborhoods. I think it's great that individuals are doing that, don't you?
Yeah. And you know what? That Open Door and all these offer pads, they're actually the ones sparking it, because I get every single month on my properties, hey, we'll buy your house. And the amount they buy it for, it goes up every time. So people are smart enough to say, wait a minute, why are you sending me all these offers? I must be sitting on a gold mine, because why would you keep doing that, right? So I think that's what's triggering Americans to get a little bit smart.
It's true. I'm in my mom's second home right now in Florida. Same kind of thing. It's like she gets about 14 phone calls, emails, postcards every week, somebody wanting to buy it. So it's like, yeah, if you want to buy it, I'm gonna hold on to it.
Yeah, a house is like a bank, right? It's like a bank. Why would I give you my bank? I'll hold on to my bank.
So, we talked a little bit about this too, but I think it bears repeating, the idea about this 24/7 lead gen stuff. So you're in the central time zone and the Eastern time zone. You can be in areas where there might be a tornado. I could be in an area where there's an earthquake, right? Where there's things that slow down the local market opportunity. But tell us how Boomtown helps you, sort of smooth out those rough edges sometimes.
Okay, true to life scenario. Y'all remember, not this February, the February prior, right? Mm-hmm. Texas had a blizzard, right? All the power of Texas went out. No big deal. My website's still running. As long as Amazon doesn't go down, my website's still running. But the leads kept coming in. And concierge was calling, setting up appointments, even though almost nobody had power, right? This morning, I found out a tornado was coming our way. I'm like the last person that finds out about natural disasters. Everybody's running all over the building. My school is like, hey, the kids are under the desk, we're preparing. And I'm like, hey, if a tornado hits us, right, no big deal, because why? When the leads continue to come in, I know that Boomtown and their people, they're still going to handle our leads. So I don't have to be in this off. I don't even have to be in this state to run the business. The only thing that we have to physically be here is to actually show homes. That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point that you just made about, I think we've all learned that being remote is a lot easier than we thought it was going to be, right? And the world seems a lot smaller with Zoom, right? We talk to people all day long, all over the world, and it seems, fine. But the idea of thinking about your marketing skills and your marketing team, if you will, your virtual marketing team, they can be anywhere doing anything, anytime. That's really exciting thinking and very different than really the way we thought about real estate historically, don't you think?
Yeah, most definitely. I love Zoom. I've always used Zoom, but consumers, they had no idea what Zoom was until, the classrooms forced people to put their
Right.
kids on it. But just that itself, it speeds up my buyer's appointments, because why would I have someone drive across Houston, which is an hour drive, to meet with me when I can just say, stay in your house, stay on your lunch break, let me do my buyer's, presentation, have nice, slides and everything. So I can technically knock out 3 to 4 buyer's appointments per day using Zoom. And they're no longer giving me, well, I want to meet you in person, right? Oh, I don't have that thing, or do I got to download something? I don't hear those excuses anymore.
Yeah, I'd love to ask the audiences, just throw it in the chat. How many of you feel like having this, opportunity to meet and work with your clients remotely has actually helped you at some level? Just say yes or no. If you think it's helped you, say yes. I'm interested to see, because I do think yeah, Kelly says yes. Yeah, Mealy says yes. It's definitely something that's changed the way we do things, but in it to the better. Even things like like some of the remote virtual tours and things that people do now. Instead of
Oh
driving
yeah.
someone to 40 houses, they can look at 40, really embedded 3-dimensional tours and then limit it to those 3. So even the driving around showing them is more focused because of it, right?
Yeah. And the main thing that we use Zoom for that really accelerated us is our home buying seminars. You
Mm-hmm.
see? So COVID messed us up big time, because I had the bright idea of, instead of renting like big conference rooms, I was doing seminars in builders model homes for like 5 years, right? And builders love when you pack a house of 75 people sitting in their model home. But as soon as COVID happened, they canceled like almost a year's worth of my home buying seminars. And they even said, we don't even want you in our model home, because we don't want anybody in our model home. I'm like, I've been giving you guys business for decades. So we built out a bigger office. I made sure I had a big classroom that could fit at least 40 people. But what we decided to do is fire up the cameras, right? The Mevo
Yep.
cameras. And because we do market throughout the entire state of Texas, I said, well, people are afraid to come and talk to us. You got a mask, I don't have a mask. And are you with the government? Are you this political? So I'm
Right.
like, listen, it don't even matter. Just jump on Zoom if you're afraid, right? And what we started to see is, because we save people the time for driving and showing up late, just broadcasting in their living room, our home buying seminars, we started to see more people on Zoom than were showing up local. Now, there are still people that want to see you and meet you in person. But the thing is once we launched our Mid-Atlantic operations, we were able now to say, hey, if you're from Maryland, PA, Delaware, and you're thinking about relocating to a certain area, jump on to our webinar, which is, the 3 steps of buying a home. But also for people in our database that are reluctant to pick up that phone, when you send them that text message or email saying, this weekend, you're going to get to meet the owner of the company, meet the staff, meet the team, they are more likely to jump on Zoom to look at you versus picking up the phone to speak with you.
So Kelly said she totally agrees. I'm moving out of state and keeping my business in New York because of the ability to do this. So she's literally relocating her whole life. And we know many people have done that, right? They may still do business in one place, but to the day-to-day operation, they're living somewhere else. So it's pretty exciting.
Oh yeah.
I mean, as we all remember how scary it was, but I think it's opened up potential and opportunities for things that we never really thought possible. So love to ask the audience if you have any questions for Cory. He obviously has a very well-oiled machine. He's thought a lot about this. He works in different markets. He understands the building space. He understands credit repair, which is a whole other space. If you have any questions for him, throw it in. But let's go to the next question, or next slide, I mean. So let's just play this video first. Hopefully, if you can see it. We're also going to throw in a link to this into the chat if it for whatever reason doesn't play for you. But go ahead, let's give it a shot. I can't hear it. Can you guys hear it?
By being in the right place at the right time, ready to engage new leads the moment they register. Sounds good, right?
Yeah, we got about half of it, unfortunately. So if we want to just, let's try it again. It's not very long. Let's just start from the beginning so we can see the whole thing.
I told you that a home buyer browsing properties online is most likely to work with the first agent they speak to. I bet you'd make sure you're responding to leads as quickly as possible, right? So what if you started capturing all of those missed opportunities by being in the right place at the right time, ready to engage new leads the moment they register? Sounds good, right? No way, you're a real estate agent. Your time is too important to be glued to your desk. You should be working active buyers and sellers, closing deals, hosting showings, building your brand, getting things done. But responding to new leads quickly is critical. So what if it could be done for you with Success Assurance from Boomtown? Acting as an extension of your team, our trained lead concierges will respond to your leads 24/7 in as little as 90 seconds and nurture them for up to a year. Communication begins and ends with a real person in real time, in the real world, for real. That means you have constant assurance that your leads are in good hands. So you never have to worry about this.
I see that you are interested in. Insert address here. Would you like to schedule a meeting?
No. And Success Assurance isn't just one concierge. It's a symphony of trained professionals engaging your leads around the clock. So what if someone registers in the middle of the night? Like when Bobby Morales decides 3 a.m. is the perfect time to hit the save button on that condo you've had on the market for 3 months. We'll be right there to schedule an appointment for him for later. Or what if someone's visiting your site while you're in the middle of a listing presentation? No worries. A fully trained concierge will reach out and qualify them. Follow the conversations live and chime in whenever you want. You'll be notified of every qualification, and your lead concierge can even schedule appointments for you. And what if you have feedback on those conversations? You can rate and review every concierge interaction with your leads so they perfectly represent and seamlessly fit in with your business. Plus, we're constantly improving. Our team of concierges engage over 50,000 leads per month. That's more than the average agent will touch in 5 lifetimes. That means better conversations, more lead conversions, and more closed deals. Qualifying leads quickly is essential for a thriving real estate business. So let us handle it for you, and you can get back to selling real estate. With Success Assurance, you can do it all without having to do it all. So start turning what ifs into done deals with Success Assurance from Boomtown. Any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think that video kind of whoops, let's stop that. Yeah. It really sums it up, that it's just like we were talking about earlier. It's like, are we cold call, lead gen, lead converting experts? Is that what realtors love to do? Do they get up in the morning thinking about that? No, most that I know don't, right, Cory?
Yeah, that's real estate in today's time. You know, it's different. I look at it as different industries. If you're a digital marketer, that's a tech guy, right? If you're a lead caller, that's a telemarketer, and you got to have the telemarketer skills. But then you had administrative side of real estate, and then you have sales. You go to real estate school and they teach you sales. They don't teach you how to be a telemarketer, right?
Right.
So if you're not a telemarketer, then you probably need someone who is to work those leads for you.
Well, and here's the thing. This is just me talking as someone that works with Boomtown a lot and sees a lot of highly successful people like Cory. It seems like, if you're serious about your business, you're going to have to invest some new energy and different types of energy, and you're going to have to try stuff, right? So yes, if I said I'm going to become a professional telemarketer, could I get and be good at that? Yeah. But to your point, can I be that? Can I be a digital marketer? Can I understand all the changing laws? Can I understand what's going on in an individual neighborhood? Do I know what the market stats are? I mean, there's so many things for realtors to already have to learn and to do just to become great salespeople, that it just seems easier, frankly, to just let someone else do that hard work. And it's just no fun. Most people just dread cold calling, right? I know very few people that are like, yeah, let's do it so people will hang up on me. That sounds awesome. It's just not where they go, right? So anyway, closing words from you, Cory. And again, anybody who's got anything, any questions you want to ask him, because he's kind of a treasure trove of experience and success with this stuff, throw it in the chat. But what's your recommendation for people that may be thinking about something like this, or they're kind of frustrated, their business may be stuck, it's stagnated, and they want to kick it off to a higher level. What's your words of advice for them?
I would say in your business, focus on what you love and what you're most competent at, which typically you love the stuff you're competent at, right? So if you're strong at showing homes, negotiating contracts, I hate doing administrative stuff, right? But I love being on the internet and I love being on the phone. So find out what you love and find out what you hate, because you probably have been sold that you have to do all that stuff, right? When you went to real estate school, and that's not true. You can outsource a lot of it, but do what you love, what you're good at, and what you don't like, find someone else to do it, because what they're doing for you, they probably love, and they're probably very competent, and no one person could be successful on their own. It's impossible, right? You could be the greatest real estate agent, but honestly, it's your consumers that make you successful, right? And if you can't even get a consumer, a client, then you'll never be a successful person. So, that's my recommendation. Do what you love. That's why I'm not out showing homes. I literally sit in front of a computer. I look at data. I look at people, and I'm waiting to pick that phone up because I like talking to people. And that's why I'm on the Zoom meeting today.
Yeah, no, you're great at talking to people. And let's talk a little bit about that too. You just mentioned something, because I think sometimes there's a perception that if I don't do it all, right? If I don't, and someone asked the question earlier about, do you find people that want to be that first contact? If I don't create all of the touch points for a potential client and a current client and even a past client, that somehow the relationship will get weakened. That somehow they won't see me as the center of they've got to have it. Do you see that? Or, because I know you're very customer centric, like what do you think is the formula to make sure that every agent and the company that supports them so well, at the end of the day, the customers say, wow, those guys really care about me?
So yeah, I know what you're getting at. You got to be in front of people, because when they do make that decision, oh, today I really do want to buy a home, who is on the top of my mind, right?
Right.
So yeah, like you know it all the time. You have a family member that uses another agent because that agent works with your family member, right? So they see them all the time talking about real estate. So yeah, having a nurturing system that just keeps spamming people, and I know probably we shouldn't spam them, but hey, until they opt out, it's legal, you can do it. So having that nurturing campaign, the text messages, the emails, making the phone calls, they don't have to be every single day, but just saying, hey, you've been with us now for a year and a half. I see you were back on the website. Just letting you know, I'm still here, right? So you got to do that, because when they do make that decision that they're going to pull the trigger and do something, and you watch them on Facebook buying with another agent, and then you're mad and you call them out, they're going to say, well, where were you at? You see?
I guess the point that you're making, which I think is one of the things I'm trying to drive home, I think, is that you can be, quote, in front of them without physically being the person doing all that work, right? To the client, to the potential prospect, they don't know that you're not sending that, that latest DIY campaign, right? They don't know that, like it, as long as it's coming through you and about you, it doesn't matter. Like, I think sometimes people think of, I don't do it all myself personally, that somehow it's not as authentic or it's not as meaningful, but that's not what you're saying.
No. And if I was that guy, my face would be on everything. And it's not on everything, because if I have to be that guy that has to take all the calls, I wouldn't have a life, right? So my setup is, yes, when someone registered, they will get an email. It's not coming from me. It's coming from my CRM saying, hey, this is Cory. I'm the founder of the company. Here's my experience, blah, 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 a picture of me. My team is here to help you out. And then there's a text that follows up with them. Hey, this is Cory. We'd like to schedule a call back with my team. Click on this link. The e-alerts go out. Sometimes they're my face. Sometimes there are other agents' faces on it. But at the end of the day, you have to, if you want to scale, right? If you only want to sell maybe 5 homes a year, then put your face on everything and be a one-man shop. But that's not my business model, right? So, but yeah, you got to rely on team members, and you got to sell the team, and you got to tell the consumer, I only like being on the phone, right? I like watching you search on our website and reaching out, but I'm not going to be the guy who shows you the home. I'm not going to be the guy negotiating and fumbling through paperwork and going back and forth with listing agents. that ain't me. And when you're honest enough to tell that person, Cory, you're being honest, you're not going to do the parts of the transaction that you don't love. They want someone to help them that loves their job, right? So that's why I say these guys on my team, they're showing agents, their personalities, their aptitude, their competency, they love showing homes. So I'm going to match you with people who love that part of the real estate transaction. My lead agents are mathematical geniuses, right? They have to negotiate. It's all about numbers, CMA, statistics, data, timing. They love the number part, but they don't want to go out in the field. You see, so that's how we sell it is, hey, I love talking to you, but after this conversation, you're going to go to a lead agent, then you're going to my finance guy, then you're going to my showing agent. But I'm still in the background, and you have my personal number that you can always reach out if you have a question.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's just sort of reflection, right? Of what is, I mean, at the end of the day, life is short. What are the things you love to do, right? Like exactly what you just described. What do you love to do? What you get up in the morning and said, you can show houses all day long. Some people are like, yes, that's amazing. But if you're not that person, it's okay. You don't have to be everything. I think sometimes we get ourselves in trouble, right? And there's great companies like Boomtown. There's great brokerages like yours that can support them in ways that are different. So if, you know, if you're at a company, because I hear this from brokers all the time too, it's like, I can't get my agents to do this. I can't get them to do that. It's like, well, then don't make them do that. Bring someone else in that's already good at it, that loves it, right?
Yeah,
so
people don't do what they don't love or like.
Oh, it's okay. Just, you know, like lean into their strengths, nurture their strengths, reward and, you know, celebrate their strengths and not worry about helping them or making them do, quote, making them. We know you can't make anybody do anything, right? But making them do stuff that doesn't matter. So anyway, so if any of this sounds interesting to you guys, there's a link on the screen there, boomtownroi.com/product-tour. That's a great place to go to just get a little bit more knowledge about this, this product. And, you know, from there, you can see if there's things that make sense if you want to engage. It sounds like Boomtown also has a lot of other things that they do, like some of the things Cory was mentioning, digital marketing and other things like that. So even if the lead qualification and nurturing isn't the thing that makes sense, they have a great CRM product. They have all kinds of good stuff. So great product, great company, CEO, solid human, which always matters, right? So check it out. Anybody else have any questions for Cory before we close this out for the day? Cory, thank you so much. You are just a joy to listen to. And I'm so happy that your business has done as well as it has for you.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Yes, talking is definitely one of your core competencies, I would say, for sure. Anybody else? Any other questions? Well, it looks like we've answered them. So Cory, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Bridget, thanks so much for putting this together. And go to boomtownroi.com/product-tour to learn more. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day and happy selling.